Hey guys, welcome to my channel. You are tuned in with Cindy. So in today's video, I want to talk about how injuries can hurt and help professional athletes. So I'm a track athlete, as you guys know, and I have experienced a lot of different injuries. And so I want to go into why there are some pros as well as the cons, but I want to talk about ways that people can use their injuries in a way that can really benefit them in the long run. So if you're interested, then continue to watch. So I have had a few major injuries. I have had a dislocated shoulder, an injury in my hamstring where I pulled it and had to stay out for about 4 weeks maybe, as well as my biggest one, which was my Achilles rupture, which I was out for almost 2 years for. And it's been very hard. I'm not trying to make light of injuries and to say that they aren't bad, because I've definitely experienced the hardships of them. However, I do believe that these injuries have helped me become better in a lot of different ways. And so I want to go over that if you are going through an injury, or you know somebody that is, or you're just interested to know how athletes can deal with this. I have gotten asked plenty of times, how do you deal with being injured? Like, what happens to you financially if this is your job? And those are some of the questions I'm going to answer in this video. If you're new, consider subscribing, because I produce fitness videos and videos like this and just encouraging things. John and I do a lot of different family vlogs and different things like that. So if you're not yet, subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you'll be alerted for the next post. So not every athlete has experienced major injuries. I am one that has, because I've had surgery and I've had been out for a long period of time. But a lot of people experience little niggles and little small injuries here and there. I don't think any athlete hasn't experienced something happening to their body. You know, you're pushing your body to its limit and you're really going hard and doing a lot of crazy things. And so it's kind of inevitable for something not to kind of happen along the way. And so that's why I wanted to make this video, because if it does happen to you, it's not always a bad thing. But I also want to, you know, share the hardships that go through it. People just think we are able to overcome things very quickly, because it's not always very easy. And this career is not always glamorous, because people look at our lives and think that we don't go through much, and you know, they see the medals, they see the awards, they see the first place finishes, but they don't think about these problems and the times that we're literally crying in our beds about injuries or other problems. The number one con, at least for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other athletes, is you can't really compete. You can't compete at all. So we train to compete, and if you can't go out there and do what you're working hard for, it kind of makes everything feel pointless. And so it's really hard to be training and working hard and pushing your body and then be told that, you know, you can't compete, or just have to deal with an injury that's out of your control because of whatever circumstance. And so that's really hard mentally. For example, in 2017, I hurt my Achilles. That was the year that I ruptured it. And that was the year, as you guys know, I represent Great Britain. And if you don't, I represent England. And we had a home champs in London, and I couldn't represent my country. And I was very devastated. I was super excited after running well in the Olympics in 2016 and doing well, and wanted to work with that for the following year. But I didn't have the opportunity to do so, and it was discouraging and very sad to be watching it on TV at home. That was really difficult for me, and I think that's a really big problem, is like when you can't compete, it just makes the sport kind of hard to continue to do. So that's a really big con. The second con, I would say, with injuries, especially at the professional level, is you risk your sponsors cutting you, which is a huge reality check. Like I said in prior videos, I am sponsored by Adidas, and so normally companies have stipulations in their contracts with the amount of races you have to have, kind of the certain times you need to run in order to do things, and you know, you need to have a certain place and some type of championship before they can renew you, or whatever it is. Everybody's contracts look different. So you definitely run a risk of, you know, losing some money and getting your contract changed if you don't meet those expectations. So when you get hurt, you don't necessarily have the opportunity to do anything, because you truly can't. And so I, for one, am very blessed that the company I'm with has been supporting me through my biggest injury and, gave me time to kind of come back. And so I am blessed with that, but not everybody has opportunities like that. You also miss opportunities with race prizes. So as you guys know, with races, at this level, you get prize money. And so when you're not competing, you don't get prize money. And so you're definitely losing out financially in that regard. And so that can be kind of tough as well. And when you don't make money, it's very hard to support yourself to recover that from that injury. And so it's just kind of a trickling effect. And so yes, definitely it can impact you financially. The third con is lose race sharpness. So I remember coming back from some injuries. I took off time after I dislocated my shoulder. That's a whole story in itself. That day was crazy. We had a fire alarm in my hotel room. I left. It was raining. It was like in the middle of the night. This was at a track meet, by the way. And I slipped down some stairs and dislocated and was out for a month. It was just crazy. Anyways, I remember the race that I had after coming back from that, and I just felt like I had lost a lot of race sharpness. Or even my first race after my Achilles, like it had been almost a year and a half and I hadn't, been racing. So you don't feel as good. It takes you a while to kind of get back to yourself, and you have to have a lot of competitions to feel normal again. So that can be a little discouraging when the times aren't showing because you're not sharp and you've been away from the game for so long. And so that's definitely a difficult part of dealing with injuries. And lastly, with the cons is that physical therapy can just get tiring and repetitive. So physical therapy can be just really monotonous, and it can be very easy tasks that you need to do in order to get the small muscles firing again, and just things like toe crunches and things that elite athletes don't want to be doing. You want to be really doing the hard stuff because that's what we enjoy, because we enjoy hard things. And so when you're doing these like really easy tasks but repetitive and just doing them every day, you don't really want to do that. And so I will say that sometimes that whole portion can get hard and people can struggle with just the excitement with that part. I will say it does help you in the long run, but it's just the portion of doing it every day can be hard. All right, so I know I went over the cons, but I want to talk about some pros that injuries can give you if you are hurt. Now, I'm not saying you need to go out there and purposefully get hurt, because nobody wants to ever be hurt if they can avoid it. But if it does happen, especially at this level, I want to give some inspiration as to what it can really do for you as a person and an athlete. So my first pro of dealing with injuries is I personally have found a new zeal, purpose, and excitement within the sport. So when you're out for such a long period of time, you miss it, you crave it, you want to do it. In return, you have this new fire in you that is excited and looks forward to truly doing what you're made to do. And so when you come back, it's like this zeal underneath you that just, it's excited. And so I have, for one, been a new athlete. I enjoy practices a lot more. I love the challenge that things bring, and things that I used to be super bored with, I'm super grateful for, because I couldn't do it a couple years ago. Sometimes things being taken away from you allows you not to take it for granted anymore. And so if you are dealing with that, just remember it can really help your excitement towards your sport, and it can bring that level of gratitude that you just kind of needed to get you to that extra place. The second pro about dealing with injuries is you can strengthen parts of your body that weren't as strong before. So like I said, you have to do the physical therapy and you need to do the little exercises that are going to help you with that specific injury. However, one thing I did was I worked really hard on those areas and the other areas. So for instance, so I wasn't overcompensating. I would work on one foot and I'll work on the other foot. And so now I feel like an overall stronger person because I have kind of evened out my body, and those areas that lacked are no longer lacking, and those areas that I may have been overcompensating with are, as they're pretty much equal. And so that's nice to know that I put in work and I continue to do it. I'm not saying that I've arrived and I'm not still going to PT for things and that it's not a constant struggle. I will say that I've noticed just strength in a lot of areas that weren't strong before. So if you're in physical therapy, just know it's helping you overall become a stronger version of yourself. Another pro of injuries is it just builds your character. I know that sounds very cliche, and people say that hard things build character, but it's very true. I have just overall been a better person just dealing with these hardships and dealing with these mental barriers, because it makes me appreciate things. It makes me grow. It makes me overcome hard things. And so now I don't go into races the same way I used to, because I know I've gone through a lot. You know, I know that these little things I'm nervous about can't even compare to what I've been through with sports. You become an overall better person and just stronger mentally. And there's just a lot of things that come with that. So if you're going through a hard time right now, even if it's not in sports and you're just watching this video for some insight, just remember you're building your character, and down the road you're gonna really be grateful for the things you're going through, because they just make you stronger overall. And lastly, the biggest pro of injuries is learning about who you are. So I used to have my identity in sports. I used to believe that I was an athlete and that's all I was. And when that was taken away from me, I truly struggled, and I didn't know other things that made me me. And I didn't really truly believe the fact that I was a child of God. And so these injuries have really helped remind me, you know, this is not all of who you are. And so reminding yourself of that, and that, you know, you just know who you truly are, is super grateful. I was able to start this channel based off of my injury, and I learned how much I really love making videos and content and talking and all these different things. So I learned a lot about who I was, and I learned different things with communities of people and friends. And so that's been super helpful, and I will just say that it's been huge. So just remember, you're learning a lot about yourself, you're growing, and yeah, that's the biggest takeaway I would say as a pro when it comes to having injuries. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got some more insight about the life of a professional athlete. It's not always rainbows and perfect skies. We go through a lot of different things, but it's also not devastating when we go through hard things. So you can use those experiences to help overall and to just be better people. But yeah, this is kind of the reality of stuff, and I continue to grow with the sport as I continue to grow as a person, and I'm really loving every aspect, good or bad, of it, because I realize they all play a role in my overall athletic career. So thanks for watching, and while you guys wait for next week's video, I'll attach some videos here that you guys can check out if you haven't yet, and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.